very proud of my record of public service. There are big differences between us, huge differences. And last but not least, I'll set the record straight. I do support the Arizona immigration law. I fully support it. And not only do I support it, I have filed, and intervened in that case out in Arizona to defend its constitutionality. And what I'd like to see is for us to recognize that you can take words, which I can't do in a 30-second commercial, I don't have the money to fully do this, but you can take my words and put them up on the screen all you want. You have to realize that what Rick Scott said in that TV ad, millions of dollars spent on it, where he said, well, I'm governor. I'm going to pass a law that allows police officers in Florida, when they make an arrest, to check to see if somebody's illegal. That's already the law in Florida. Yeah. It's not necessary to do that. And when you really peel back this onion a little bit, we really should be bringing the Arizona law to Florida, which I do favor. And all it requires now that it's been amended, and I didn't support it the first week because it was not written right. The legislature went back in, and the second week they changed it, 1 week after it was passed. So that the law now reads the key provision that has been thrown out by this judge, which is a horrible decision, and it's not going to stand, I really don't believe. But it says that when you stop, detain, or arrest somebody, you are required as a police officer to check to see if they're illegal or not. Everyone who does that should do that today in Florida. And I'm all for having a law that requires that. There's another provision that's key to this too. And the real constitutional issue there, which is fascinating to see, is, there are enumerated powers given to the federal government by our founding fathers. And those things that are not given are reserved to the states. Well, the federal government has the power over passing immigration laws, but the general police powers of the nation were never given to the federal government. The general police powers were reserved to the states. So it's always been true that the states have the power to enforce both state and federal law. To give you an idea of this, just to make it abundantly clear, when a postman is working on the post office grounds and somebody attacks him with a sledgehammer or a pipe or a brick or something, and the policeman is walking by, the local cop on the beat, he makes that arrest. He can make that arrest. There's no problem with that at all. But it's federal property. It's a federal crime against a federal employee on federal property that's going to be tried in federal court. So what Arizona is doing is simply saying, look, let's take, for example, federal law today. There is a federal law that says that it is a misdemeanor for you not to be carrying your papers that show you're eligible to be in this country. If you're not a citizen, you don't have proof of that. If you're not, you have to do that. It's a misdemeanor. So Arizona said, fine, we're going to pass the same thing, so we can, instead of trying this case in federal court, we're going to try the state court. We want a state law that just duplicates that or replicates that. And then there's another federal law that's a misdemeanor for crossing the border illegally. It's a misdemeanor, but it's still a crime. So it's not, by the way, if you bring a visa and then you overstay, it's a civil infraction. But if you cross the border illegally, so Arizona passes a law that exactly like the federal law. And they want to make that so we can take that into state court. That's what this is all about. And Obama comes along and he says, this is all unconstitutional. He doesn't even argue the police powers. He argues this is a national security issue, and as President of the United States, because it interferes with his rights to negotiate with countries like Mexico, we're somehow, you can't have those laws like that. We can't have the states enforcing those laws. And that's not going to prevail. It's the same kind of issue we've got where he's doing government by fiat in the healthcare arena. Look, in a lawsuit I filed over that with 19 other states, I know you didn't know I did that, to have Obamacare declared unconstitutional. In that case, we have the same idea here. There's no place in the enumerated powers of the U.S. Constitution to give the federal government the right tonight, while you're sitting out here in a chair, you're not buying anything, you're just here tonight in a political gathering, to say that if you don't buy a product, in this case an insurance policy, you're going to pay a penalty for that. There's no place that says that. Now they're going to say you're engaging in commerce. You're sitting in there in repose. I don't know who used that word, but I heard that today. But anyway, you're just sitting there. And there are people who are going to say, and I bet 4 justices of the U.S. Supreme Court are going to say it, you're engaged in commerce because you did not buy a health insurance policy because you're affecting everybody else. They can say that about anything. That's a liberal view. I'm a conservative. You're a conservative, I presume. We know better. The Founding Fathers never intended the Commerce Clause to be that expansive. And we have court cases that show that. That's the individual mandate. The other thing in that lawsuit goes to states' rights as well. We, as opposed to Virginia's in us sued on the same basis I just gave you. And they won their motion to dismiss hearing yesterday. That's not the final deal, but it's good. We have ours. We'll hear in federal court in September. Our brief is due this Friday. But the other one we have is also important. It's a 10th Amendment issue. And that's where 27% of our state budget goes to Medicaid today. 27%. We made a stupid deal. I don't know, maybe it wasn't, back then I wasn't there. I shouldn't use terms like that, but it was not, I don't know why they did. Back whenever we agreed that when we would administer the Medicaid, federal Medicaid program, the states were going to pay a certain percentage out of their coffers in addition to supplement whatever the federal government was going to pay, a matching type deal. Today, that's why we pay 27%. Probably nobody envisioned that was going to give 27% of the state budget. Without Obamacare, it's going to rise, according to projections, to maybe as high as 36% over the next 5 to 10 years, regardless, because of the growth of Medicaid recipients in our state. But with Obamacare, they didn't ask us our opinion. They didn't say anything to us at the federal level. They just passed it, and they expanded eligibility so a lot more people are covered, and the amount of money that we're going to have to pay out is billions of dollars more in states. In Florida alone, at least $1 billion a year, perhaps a 50% increase in the number of eligible people in our state is going to occur as a result of this. And so we believe as states, and all the states affected believe this is a commandeering of state assets. This is a taking by the federal government in violation of the 10th Amendment. This is a states' rights issue. This is going to be the most historic decision in my lifetime about individual liberty and state versus federal government. And it's going to go to the Supreme Court. Now, I'm not going to be Attorney General when it does that. There's some Attorney General candidates on the other side of the aisle who say they would drop this suit if they became Attorney General. Well, I'll tell you what, if I'm governor, as some have done in their states, we're going to take it regardless. I'm looking forward to that. I want to be your governor. I want to be leading that charge. But gosh, even if I'm not there as governor, and we have, gosh forbid, the wrong party in there, because Alex thinks that she wouldn't maintain this suit either. If that were to happen, you still have 19 other states. It's going to go to the United States Supreme Court. I wouldn't be happy if Florida wasn't leading the charge like we are right now. We should be. We started it. We want to finish it. And it's right for a whole host of reasons. And the good news about that is there is no severability clause in this legislation. For lawyers, you know what that means. For everybody else, you probably don't. But it means that if we win on any one of these grounds, if the court believes us, any one, the whole law disappears. Not just a part of it. The whole Obamacare is gone. And we start all over, which is where we should. Well, that's a long discussion, but it gives you some idea of where I come from. And why Dick Armey, when he endorsed me, said, Bill McCollum, it was Tea Party before there was a Tea Party. And I'm proud that I've been endorsed by Jeb Bush, by Newt Gingrich, by Dick Armey, by Mitt Romney. I've been endorsed by the Florida Chamber of Commerce, by the Retail Federation, by the Home Builders Association, by the business community that knows me and knows my record and knows what I would do and knows what the other guy is all about. And I would just suggest to you again, I think you can carry that message confidently that the person that should be elected the next governor of Florida is the one with a record you know, the proven Reagan conservative, the one who you can count on, who's not going to say one thing when he's running and do something different when he's elected. We're tired of that. All of us are angry about that. I'm campaigning as a conservative. I'll govern as a conservative. I've been a conservative all my life, and I'm proud of it. Thank you very much. Thank you.